folks. Welcome once again to Mr. H's Weekly Recaps, where we try to give you a rundown of what's going on in room 1925. We've been off for a couple weeks, partly because of the snow, which probably surprised a lot of people that we got as much as we did, but also I've been in the process of moving my family from one house to another. So that kind of took up a lot of my time. We're still living out of boxes, but for the most part, we've got things kind of settled a little bit better now, so we can get back to kind of giving you guys kind of the nuts and bolts of what's happening in the classroom as far as what your students are doing, what they're working on, stuff like that. Before we talk a little bit about the classes, a couple reminders to kind of throw out for the benefit of parents. This Friday coming up is the end of the third marking period, and so students have kind of already passed their deadline as far as makeup work is concerned, but just be it known that grades will be submitted Friday morning and report cards should be issued shortly thereafter. So if you want to get an idea of how your son or daughter is doing as far as their grades, they can go on the parent portal and see for the most part how things are going to shake out. I have a few items of makeup work that I'm kind of working through, getting students kind of finished and caught up. So those things will be added in as we go through the week, but for the most part, the grade you see is the grade you get. Another item, and again, this is something that you've probably heard about, because of the snow days that we lost 2 days last week because of weather, we will be making those days up. One is over our Easter break that Monday, so just kind of be it known that that's going to be coming up here very, very shortly. And then the long weekend that would have been Memorial Day is also going to be a snow makeup day. So if you're not sure of any of those dates, and unfortunately I don't have those in front of me at the moment, just go to the high school page, go to the district page, and you'll see those dates. And obviously we'll be sending out reminds when we get closer to students, letting them know what the schedule changes are going to be. Let's talk a little bit about our Gov students. We've had a lot of kind of catching up to do over the last couple days. Students have been in a little bit of a holding pattern because of my absences and the snow absences. But here's kind of basically the big things that we've done thus far. We have finished our second unit, which is talking about elections. We finished up with a look at public opinion and mass media, and so students did some activities revolving around that. Our rescheduled unit exam, because of, again, the snow, is going to be April 5th, so that's going to be coming up here very soon. Students have study guides, so encourage them to start looking over stuff now. The key for the econ exam, while students haven't gotten their answer sheets back just yet, we do have the keys up and available for students to start looking at and studying from. So if you're not sure where to find those, just shoot me an email and I'm happy to share the link with you. But they're posted on the Gov page on my website, and so students should be able to find them pretty easily. As we start to get into Unit 3, which is kind of our clunky unit, it's our Gov and History unit, Government History unit. Right now we're in the history side of things, where we're talking a little philosophy, we're talking political ethics, some basic poli-sci terms, and then we get into talking about hopefully some topics students already know: Magna Carta, Enlightenment, a little bit of early American history, and then we round that out with the Constitutional Convention and discussions of the ratification of the Constitution. That leads us then into the second part of the unit, which is looking at Articles 1, 2, and 3, basically the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judiciary, kind of talking about current issues, topics, how they work, kind of reviewing that from their earlier history and civics classes, and just kind of blending all that together with what's going on currently in D.C. This upcoming Monday, my first block guys, will be having a guest speaker. Our local rep, Senator Ryan Ament, will be making a stop by for an installment of our Student Town Hall series. So he'll be here for kind of a part of First Block, talking about kind of what brought him into the political spectrum, what brought him into the world of politics, his experiences, but also to answer student questions, which is a majority of what our student town halls are all about. Third Block recently, I guess it was last week, got to have that same experience with County Commissioner Craig Lehman, who came in, and he basically talked a little bit about what he does with local government, county government, if you will. So that was a great town hall. We're hoping for a follow-up on Monday, just as good. And this week specifically, students turned in their Clear in the Classroom projects, basically a salute to Charter Day, which is the beginnings of our state and some of the early history of our state. Students looked at different political events in our state's history and created kind of a virtual tour of those sites through an app called Clio, which was created by a professor at Marshall University. He wanted to turn it into basically a historian's tour guide, a digital tour guide of famous historic sites all over the country. And so we're going to be putting our stamp on it. That should be going live here in the next couple days so that everyone can get a chance to take the tour and see what your students created. And then later this week, we're going to be doing our first fishbowl debate. We haven't done too many of these, mainly because we've been working on so many other cool stuff. Fishbowl debates are basically kind of a more inclusive style of debate. I enjoy bringing them in at this part in the course because basically it gets the students talking and a little bit less of me talking. So our first fishbowl debate is going to have students take a look at an essay that was written by Benjamin Franklin, discussing kind of what is a virtuous citizen. We're talking political ethics right now as we get into kind of the early goings of Unit 3. So students are going to be looking at this essay, taking some points as far as what Benjamin Franklin looked at as far as being a virtuous citizen, and then we'll kind of debate those points and see if, Franklin's experience is applicable in today's world as we continue our look at the early histories of democracy in kind of the United States and the Western world. For the honors students, we're right now in the midst of Unit 2. We've talked about the Age of Exploration. We've talked a little bit about colonialism in the New World, particularly Latin America. This week, we're going to start to get more in depth with the Scientific Revolution, the European Enlightenment, talking a little bit about some of the democratic movements like the French Revolution, the English Civil War, the independence movements that come out of Latin America. That's going to be coming down the pike here very shortly. And to kind of add to that discussion, on Friday, we're going to have Dr. Brian Newson, who's a professor of history at Elizabethtown College. He's going to be coming in and talking to the students a little bit about the French Revolution. That is kind of his area of expertise. And so he'll be bringing kind of a different perspective of that particular conflict as kind of a preview for where we'll go next week as students start to get into that more. We're also going to get next week into kind of the beginnings of talking about the end of Unit 2, what our unit exam is going to look like, but also what our unit project is going to look like, which is going to use this app called MapStory. Basically, students are going to be creating a digital annotated map of the unit and kind of relate it back to our overarching unit theme, which talks about democratic change, conflict, and exploration. And so more on that to come from your students as we move forward. Again, keep an eye on the portal as we start to get stuff wrapped up for the marking period. But other than that, if you have questions, feel free to email, feel free to reach out and contact me, and we'll see you guys again next week for another installment of Mr. H's Weekly Recaps.